alphabetically, we've got the Arizona Cardinals stepping up. Obviously, this is a team with a lot of kind of turnover in terms of new regime. How have they done, do you think?
Yeah, getting off to a fun start here with the team with the lowest Vegas season win total and the longest Super Bowl odds. But I think they honestly did a great job if you understand the assignment was not to try to win games in 2023 and really try to win games in 2024 and beyond. And, you're not going to accomplish that any better than getting a first and third round pick from the Houston Texans in 2024, another third round pick from the Tennessee Titans also in 2024. Again, per those Vegas odds, they're slated to have picks 1, 2, 33, 65, 66, 68, I think is what it was.
Wow.
So, hey, that's how you start things over and just start from scratch. I think they've done a good job long term, but they're going to be very bad this year.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not a short-term building strategy that they've had, but what they've done, I think, is a really impressive result, particularly in the draft. They were one of our favorite drafts, largely because of the extra capital that they amassed, but also the players that they got once they did start drafting. Like, they were able to trade down, pick up a first round next year, and get the guy that they were theoretically willing to take if they'd been stuck at number 3 overall. So when we look at sort of favorite and least favorite moves of all these teams, my favorite offseason move for the Cardinals was that Paris Johnson Jr. Selection combined with the trade, like being able to get him in addition to securing a first round pick next year, I think is as good a single move as any team has made this offseason.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great call. I would say one that I'm going to highlight here, and it ties back into that point, but I always show to stress, different moves apply to teams differently. We'll probably get to the Chicago Bears, maybe talk about Jalen Carter a little bit, same example. But here for me, Garrett Williams out of Syracuse, the corner, tore his ACL. I think he was a consensus top 50 pick. You ask a lot of NFL draft analysts, and they would probably tell you that before he tore his ACL. A very good player on the outside, can mirror, a receiver's ability very well. Physical up at the line, a willing tackler, all those things, yada, yada. The point is, this team, again, is not trying to contend. He might not play right away with a torn ACL. Maybe you could argue if you're another team that's trying to contend, let's say you're the Jets or something, and you have an old quarterback, you're trying to make the most of that window. Maybe for them, it wouldn't make sense to take a prospect coming off a torn ACL. For Arizona, you're basically saying we're getting a discount on this player. We're comfortable enough with his medicals. And again, we're targeting 2024. I think it just shows how cohesive the entire approach was.
Yeah, and it's kind of reflected in when you look at we love their draft. We gave their draft an A+. Paris Johnson in the first round, BJ Ojulari in the second round, even if I was lower on him than others. Garrett Wilson, the guy you're highlighting, Michael Wilson, the Stanford wide receiver in the third round as well, who we loved. Clayton Tune in the fifth round, a guy that could be a really good backup quarterback down the line. Like, this was a very, very good draft top to bottom, but the sort of future approach, I think, was reflected in their free agency, which was, I guess the best way of describing it is just unexciting, right? They didn't do a whole lot in terms of impact moves. Kaiser White coming in at linebacker, maybe the most short-term impactful move they made, which pretty much says it all, right? This is not a free agency period that's going to make a ton of impact this season.
100%, right? Don't spend a ton of money. Save all your dollars. You do have expensive players on this roster. You probably have to extend Marquise Brown at some point, or I guess prepare for a franchise tag next offseason. So why would you spend? Instead, bring a guy in who Jonathan Gannon just worked with in Philadelphia, who I think we would all agree is a high floor player, maybe the highest ceiling, but a good coverage linebacker that can give you 800-plus snaps and not be a complete liability against the run, against the pass, anything. Yeah, that's the kind of move they should have made. All the buzzwords, establish your culture and get your vets in there, all that, but I think there is credence to it, especially when you're walking into a situation where there kind of have been some question marks, not just the players. I mean, organizationally top down, what is this culture like? If Gannon wants to reset that, this is how you start doing it.
So overall, we gave their offseason a B grade. Outstanding draft, nothing to write home about in terms of free agency, but that is all part of the offseason strategy. Like, one of the biggest sort of signals from this Arizona offseason is we're just going to fix the thing. Like, this franchise has made some mistakes in the past. That's why things have gotten off the rails, and this offseason was about putting it right. And I think they've done a good job. Like, I wouldn't even pull out any individual move from free agency or the draft and single that out as something I didn't like. There were, moves that I didn't love, but this was a good offseason across the board.
Yeah, the only thing, you can point to some of the losses, but I think this would also go back to, like a guy like a Zach Allen, a guy like Byron Murphy. Yes, they are good players, but I think in this phase of where they are, if it's a difference-making player, if it's a force multiplier, foundational piece, yeah, maybe you spend even where you probably shouldn't spend. If they're an above average to good player, let that guy go.
Right.